Hello and welcome to 2026. Yeah, here already, another year gone. So it seems like it's a good time to do a bit of an update of the arcade because I haven't done a proper walkthrough in a long time. So what I want to do is take you guys around, take a look at each one of the machines and give you a little bit of the backstory. Okay, let's do it. There have been a lot of changes since the last time I did one of these videos, mainly because I actually left the arcade hobby for about 7 years. And back in 2025, I decided this is something I want to get back into. It was something I really enjoyed doing last time around. Just got a bit burned out on it. So I decided to jump back in and start all over again. The first machine that actually caused this to happen was this Robotron. It was sitting in my shed for about 5 years or so, and I kept looking at it and thinking, wow, I really need to do something with it. But it was in pretty bad shape. The whole bottom of the base was completely dissolved from water damage. I had to completely replace the whole base of this machine. And you'll notice here next to Bubbles, it's actually lost about 1.5 inches of height. So it really was in a bad way. But I managed to rebuild the wood and refinish everything and get it all polished up and back in working order again. Nice new repro control panel on there, rebuilt monitor. The glass is actually all original, so that's nice. And the marquee is all original as well. So the only thing that is actually repro on this machine is the control panel overlay. Outside of that, it's all working great. One of my favorite games. Now, just because it's one of my favorites doesn't mean I'm good at it. I'm actually terrible at this game, but I think a lot of people can relate to that. What I plan to do, I don't know if I can get this without all the reflections. I'm starting to collect trade flyers from back in the day, and I'd like to get one for each machine and have it as kind of a topper, just to add a little bit of extra interest and nostalgia. All right, moving on, Bubbles. Now, this machine has got a great story behind it. This is my second Bubbles restore. I did have one in my previous arcade. This time around, I knew it was going to be really hard to find a machine, but through the connections on Clav, the killer list of video games collectors forums, somebody noticed that I was looking for an empty Bubbles cabinet and reached out to me to let me know, hey, I have an all-original cabinet that's in really good shape. It's empty, but if you want it, you can have it. And I thought, wow, that's so generous. That's amazing. That just doesn't happen. People don't give things away in this hobby, as it tends to get quite expensive. Trouble is, the cabinet was in Maryland. So I had to ship it all the way from Maryland, which costs close to $1,000 just to bring an empty cabinet. But it's one of my favorite games, Bubbles. Oh, I just noticed it's sitting on the reset there.
No!
That's better. I just had to toggle the power switch on and off. Just sitting in a reset mode there. So, slowly but surely, I managed to gather all the pieces together, including a joystick, which is very unique to this game because even though it's not an analog stick, it is an optical stick. So it has quite a unique feel to it, and it has like a rubber webbing underneath. Gives it a kind of distinct play feel. A rebuilt monitor, managed to find original Bubbles glass. The control panel overlay on this is all original as well. That did come with a cabinet. And then, of course, I had to source a coin door, and of course, none of the guts were there. So I had to buy a reproduction wiring harness from a guy up in Canada. I believe it's Golden Classic Arcades, something like that. Does great work. So a completely new wiring harness for this. And then I managed to find a complete Bubbles board set, again on the KLOV forums. And that managed to get me up and running. After a certain amount of pain and suffering, we got there. Very happy to have Bubbles back in the collection. A very rare and very unique game. Love it. All right, spin around past my glorious Atari wall hanger there. to our Neo Geo. Now this is the 4-slot Neo Geo with the 25-inch monitor in it. I actually found this local. It was in a storage facility and someone had been sitting on it for a long time. It wasn't in rough shape, but it wasn't particularly clean either. And I find with Neo Geos, if you don't really polish them up and make them really, really tight and clean, then they just always kind of look rough and beat up. So I did a fair bit of cosmetic work on this. There were drill holes for the lock bar across the coin door. We needed new graphics on the front, new T-molding, new paint and graphics on the side. I had to replace the marquee electro panels because they were all burned out, which they always are on these machines. Also fully rebuilt the monitor because that's the reason the person was selling it in the first place. Playing blind. Always one of the best ways to actually buy an arcade machine, because usually it's just a case of rebuilding the monitor and you're up and running. Now in this particular machine, you notice it's going through a attract mode because it is actually being powered by a Mr. FPGA system. It's using super attract mode on the Mr., so it'll actually go through each game in the collection, load it, sit there for 2 minutes or so letting it play, and then if nobody touches any buttons or controls, it just moves on to the next game. That's a really slick way of powering one of these machines. And as the Neo Geo is technically a multicade, this is the way I decided to go rather than a multi-cart. The Mr. FPGA plays so well and looks so good. It's really a great upgrade. I still have the 4-slot board, which is fully working, and I have a couple of cartridges. But if anyone knows or anyone's tried to buy any Neo Geo cartridges these days, you'll see how expensive they've gotten amongst the collectors. So again, the FPGA is actually quite a nice route to go. Up top there, we've got a karaoke machine. And then, of course, we've got our watchful Pac-Man ghost there, just keeping an eye on the arcade, making sure everything's okay. All right, moving on. Miss Pac Galaga. This is the 20-year reunion model, again with a 25-inch monitor. They made 2 versions of this. A 19-inch monitor, a smaller box, of course, but it didn't have a real coin door. It just has a sticker on the front, which I don't know why they did that. I guess just to keep costs down. But as you can see, this has got the proper coin door in it because it is the full-size 25-inch version. It's in beautiful condition. This is home use only. And I got it from a guy, again, local, who was moving out of state. And when I asked him how he came to have the machine, he said it was just in the house when he bought it. They left it in the garage and he just kind of inherited it. And you can see the side art down the side there. Beautiful condition, not faded, nice rich colors, really great game. And then obviously 2 of the greatest classics of all time, Miss Pac-Man and Galaga. Now off in the corner here, we've got to take care of refreshments when people are here. So we've got our little mini fridge. And then above it, we've got an air fryer there. So if you want to throw in a little pizza or a Hot Pocket while you're down here, you can do that there. Ghostbusters logo. And of course, everybody needs to know where to go when they've had too many of the beers from the mini fridge. Up on the main screen here, I am running one of the coin-ops builds, which is emulation. And we've got some wireless controllers sitting over on the desk on the other side of the arcade there. So you could actually grab a controller and fire up pretty much any game on that. I think there's 870 games. All right, moving on. Atari Warlords Cocktail. This is my crown jewel in my collection. Again, it's the second one I've ever had. I did have one in my previous collection, but it did get sold off when I decided to get out of the game for a while. This one I picked up as a complete project. It was nothing more than a mountain of parts that someone had harvested and managed to pull together. All the parts came off a completely destroyed Warlords. That was like all the metals, the control panel, the feet, the legs, all the guts, including a wiring harness, power supply, game board, all of those goodies. The project also came with a fully reproduced wooden cabinet that someone had put together. So I had pretty much everything I needed. It was just a matter of going through the process of assembling everything, applying the graphics. I stripped all the metals and took them to a local powder coating company. So they powder coated everything black. You can see my monitor's struggling a little bit. It's a bit of a sort of a degauss type situation. But I think also magnetically, the orientation of this machine in the room is causing some challenges there with getting that uniformity of color. So that's something I need to fiddle with. But for the most part, the game is up, it's running, it's one of my all-time favorites. One of the best ways to enjoy this game is with 3 other friends. Each person puts down $1, start the game, and then last man standing, the winner, takes the money, and of course all the glory. I wanted to make sure that I had a nice, relaxing place for people to hang out in the arcade, instead of cramming the room with every machine that I could get in it. Now I know some people really like to do that, they love the feel that that gives the room, and there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't do that if that's what you like. But I found that when people come over, unless they're actively playing the games, then they kind of don't want to hang out in the room if they don't have somewhere where they can just go and chill. So for me, it was important to be able to create a social area in the middle of the room where people can sit down, relax, take in the ambiance, listen to some 80s tunes, you know, just have a drink, chill, and enjoy being down here. All right, let's move over to the back row. I actually have 2 spaces here for my Donkey Kong and my Paperboy machine, which are in my bar, which is upstairs. Or maybe we can go up there a little bit later and take a look at those. Okay, next game, Gyrus. I picked this up again on the Clov forums. Bit of a sad story though. It was in a collection of a Clov member that actually died. And his family was liquidating the games, moving them on. So I'm very happy to have picked up such a nice looking Gyrus. It's a beautiful game. I really like this cabinet and I really love the gameplay. It's just unfortunate that that was a circumstance that had to come about for me to be able to pick this machine up. Great game, great music, great fun. Got our Jaws Lego kit and a few bits and pieces up here. Again, I just like to decorate the room in such a way that it's interesting. There's always something for you to find when you're looking around the arcade. All right, next machine, Hypersports. Again, bought from a Clov member, but local here in San Diego. I personally love Hypersports and Track and Field. I think they're super fun games. I like the minigame genre, so that's kind of why it appeals to me. Not everyone does though, so a bit of a mixed bag. I guess you like what you like, and that's all it needs to be. After all, this is your arcade, and it can have the games that you like. This machine still needs a little bit of attention. The front of the cabinet here should be sort of a yellowy orange to sort of match the control panel. Also, the insides here should also be yellow. So at some point, I'm going to need to sort of strip this cabinet down and give it the love it needs. Also, you can see, again, look at those giant holes drilled in the front for the lock bars. Every machine I get seems to need those repairing, and this one will be no different. Again, okay, Mad Planets. I love Mad Planets. It's such a cool game. It has amazing sound, it has amazing action, fun graphics. It is just so cool. Sorry about the shot here, I'm getting some reflections from overhead. Very unique control panel. I'm just waiting here. You'll notice that there is something missing. That is the spinner that rotates your spaceship around. There is a reproduction spinner that has just been finished and shipped. I actually just need to go to a local collector's house and pick it up from him. I was very lucky again to pick up a project. The cabinet itself is actually an original Mad Planets cabinet. And it came with the joystick, it came with various bits of artwork, the control panel overlays. Again, a project that someone had started collecting all the parts for and then never really gotten around to actually executing on it. So I managed to convince them to sell it on to me, and they did. It took a while, but you can see some of the original artwork just poking out there. It's got a very unique paint job on it. And it has the original Mad Planet's Gottlieb joystick. This is a very hard piece to find, and usually the plastics are cracked, not unlike the Tron joysticks that you see around. And also there's a rubber grommet in the bottom of this joystick, which over years tends to dry out and crack. I was very lucky. This had none of those problems, so it really was a fantastic example of that stick, allowing me to put together very clean, very fun and playable machine. Next one along, Atari Tempest. This is, of course, the cabaret version. I love how cute and small the footprint is on these cabarets from Atari. The greatest part about it, though, is they still keep the 19-inch monitor. They don't use a smaller monitor than the full-size machine. So you really are getting the best of both worlds. A machine that doesn't take up too much space in your arcade, but it still has all the fun and all of the visuals that you get with a full-size machine. This machine also has a multi-kit in it, so if you hold down player 1, player 2 button, we get Omega Race, and hold them down one more time, and we get Major Havoc. So 3 classic vector games all ready to go in this machine. By the way, this machine, home use only, completely original, top to bottom, amazing condition, no wood rot, no damage of any kind. It is super, super clean. I was very, very lucky to get this machine. But a quite strange curiosity that you will not see in many places. This is the original multi-cab. Well, not multi, that's not quite right. This was the first machine that allowed operators to simply change out a cartridge. Yet in this case, cartridges weren't even invented. This came out 10 years before the Neo Geo. This machine doesn't use cartridges, it uses little tiny cassettes. You know, like the ones that they use in dictaphones? So let's open this up. And all the way back in here, we have this tiny box. If we open the box up, there is a little cassette deck in there. I'll see if I can't see what I'm doing. There you go, that's better, I've got some light now. If I reach in here, press this button, you can see there's a little teeny tiny cassette. We look on here, get some focus, you see it says Burger Time. So the games came on little cassettes, just like they did on your Commodore 64, or if you're a VIC-20 person back in the day, you'd have that too. The arcade operator would turn on the game at the beginning of the day, and the game would load into memory. It'd take about 2 minutes or so, and then you would have your game up and ready to go. There's also a security dongle system, so that each cassette came with one of these security dongles, and that made sure you couldn't just make a copy of the cassette and put it in another machine. Now you'll notice here I've got something a little bit more modern looking plugged into the security dongle header, and this is the DocSoft multi-kit, which is specifically designed for this machine, and it contains all of the known dumped ROMs for the Deco library of games. So I'll just close this up. There we go. And if we move up here, we can see that when the game boots up, we get a menu. And here's a quick pan down some of the games that are part of the Deco library. Also, if you move the joystick left, there's more games there. And like any other menu-based system, just select the game in the menu, Press player 1. We get our loading screen. And this is the Deco screen that you would see when you started the game up back in the day. Obviously, it doesn't take 2 minutes because we're loading from ROM these days. And there we have Burger Time. I love how sort of quirky and weird this machine is. It's got this super cool Japanese style artwork. These were the original Deco cabinets before Burger Time went on to be licensed in America and get its own dedicated cabinet, which is the one that I think most people are familiar with and used to seeing in arcades today. Okay, next machine, Space Harrier. I love Space Harrier. It was one of only a handful of machines that existed in a tiny arcade that I used to go to when I lived back in the UK in Chester in the 1980s. They actually had the full motion version of this, which I've always dreamed of having. But that thing is an absolute beast. It takes up way too much room and is very, very expensive and very, very hard to find. So I am happy with my little stand-up Space Harrier here. As you can see, it's in pretty good shape. It's in good condition. All of the plastics and the lights and even the rubber boot here have all been replaced with new old stock. Nice, clear, rich monitor there, fantastic picture. It's got a little bit of burn, but nothing too bad. And of course, the proof that it really is authentic, the cigarette burns. Yeah, back in the day, you'd be playing your game and you just take out your cigarette and just prop it here, and it would sit and it would melt into the bezel. I think we can leave that though there. That there though, that's just history. Great machine. Okay, next to it, sister machine. Same hardware, same system, Afterburner. I got this from a local collector again. He'd already done pretty much all of the work on the machine. He replaced a lot of these plastics with some very hard to find new old stock. The whole machine overall is in very good shape. It just needed a little bit of extra spit and polish when I got it. There's a few other things I want to do, like replace the matting down there. I have some of that all ready to go. I love this chrome joystick that he added. This is pretty cool. Gives it a little bit of extra flair, I would say. Great game, great sounds, absolute chaos. I have to admit, when I'm playing this game, I have no idea what's going on. I'm just shooting everything, and it's super exciting, so that's okay. And the third of the terrible trio, such a classic. If you've never played Outrun on the actual arcade machine, then it is certainly an experience. Again, they used to make a full motion version of this and sort of a standard sit-down version. Again, for space purposes and sort of general ease of finding, I just opted for the stand-up version. Now, this has enhanced ROMs in it. Actually, so does Afterburner. There is an enhanced ROM set that you can get and add to the machine, which gives you proper free play and the track modes. Also, on the advanced ROMs for Outrun, there are different musical tracks. I believe there's a bunch of software bug fixes and glitch fixes, but that's all up and running real well. It's in great shape. It's got the usual damage here, which you'll see this on virtually every stand-up Outrun. I'm hoping that I can find a way to patch and clean this up. But I think what happens here is when people go to move the machines from one place to another, and they get moved around quite a lot by operators back in the day, you would go to move the machine and you would grab this and put weight on it to pull it, and inevitably that would just give out. It just obviously wasn't meant to take that kind of abuse. Here, what we are looking at is a timber machine by Bally Midway. I've collected every single thing I need here to create a full timber machine from the ground up. But because it's such a rare game and so hard to find, I actually opted to get a local CNC company to cut all of the panels for the machine. So I'm going to need to fully assemble that, but I have all the artwork, I have the bezel, the marquees, control panels, everything that I need for that project. But that's just going to sit there until I actually find the time to get to it. Panning around here, you can see we've set up kind of a little bar type situation behind the couch here. Maybe I'll put some stools in here one day. You know, looking forward just to add a little bit of extra seating and people that enjoy sort of hanging out and talking to each other. Here on the iPad, I am running Home Assistant, and you can see that we've got the whole arcade set up with smart switches, cameras, smart lighting, everything you need to be able to administer the room from here. Moving down here, we just got some little tchotchkes that I got off eBay, little bits and pieces that I just thought were fun. Gave everyone something to discover if they run around the room. This is a really odd little piece that I found. Pac-Man magnets. Don't ask me, I have no idea. I just thought it was awesome. And then of course, where would you be without your Pac-Man ponchos? Yeah. All right, spinning around. Behind us here, we have our candy cab. This is my Sega Astro City. I bought this from a guy up in the LA area. He'd had it for a while. He'd taken very, very good care of it. It's a very clean cab in beautiful condition. Got the full fighter control panel configuration here. This is also running a full FPGA Mister system with a library of Capcom System 1 and System 2 games. There is a Capcom System 3 core in production, and I believe that they're coming to the end of getting that ready for release. So once the Capcom 3 core comes, we can add the final Capcom fighters and pieces to that machine. Next to that, we have one of the most glorious things I've ever found on Craigslist, the kitty cat claw machine. I saw a photo of this. Someone wanted $500 for it, I think, and is in fully working condition. I just looked at it, I was like, I have to have that. That is the most glorious thing I've ever seen in my life. It's so cute. It's so fun. I went on Team and just bought a ton of cool, fun little goodies to put in there for the kids. And this machine gets used a lot. The kids love this thing. So we basically tell them, look, you can play it as much as you want. It's free to play, but just pick one. Just pick one of the treasures from your hoard, and then we'll throw all the other ones back in. Because otherwise they'd be cleaning me out of like $300 worth of little fluffy toys every time we have a party here. Here I have a machine that is cleaned up and ready to go. It is an old Arcade Legends machine, but it was missing the control panel. So I put one together just with a single player setup. I must admit, it doesn't seem to be getting a lot of interest. I think it's the control panel. So I may have to try and source one of the original control panels, which had 2 sticks, 6 fighter buttons, and a trackball in the middle. And then, of course, that will allow you to put more games on it. Nice, big, bright 25-inch monitor in here. And this is set up with a Raspberry Pi running RGB Pi. So that, again, much more reliable, much simpler for someone who just wants a plug-and-play machine that's going to go in the house. Put new graphic, new vinyl on the side here, and new T-molding. Just get it really nice and cleaned up and tight looking, so that someone can come along, scoop this up, take it home, put it in their bar or their man cave, and just enjoy the games without too much fuss. Okay, moving around to Project Corner. This is the project that I'm currently halfway through. I bought a POW machine, which was in pretty good shape. But I did it because I wanted to make an Atari Warriors. Again, one of my childhood favorites, one of the few that were in that little arcade down by the river. Whoa, my MTV sign is not on. I gotta turn that on. Oh, it's not an arcade if the MTV sign isn't turned on. Sorry, back. Okay, it's all right, it'll be okay. Right, Atari Warriors, as you can see, the game board in here is not fully working. It's got good live, obviously most things are happening okay, but we don't have any background or graphics. That is most likely either a ribbon cable issue, because there are actually 3 boards in the board set, all connected with ribbon cables, and they are notorious for going out on all of these older arcade game boards. So we'll replace the ribbon cables and see what kind of change we get. If it's not ribbon cables, then the next most likely problem is that it is a RAM chip, a memory issue, because if the RAM chip or the memory has gone, that controls the background of the graphics, then we're not going to get any. The control panel is actually in the shed. I'm just waiting for a few new buttons, and then I can remove this one and put the Atari Warriors control panel on there. Again, so many lock bar holes. Don't worry, these will all get patched up and filled. And then the Atari Warriors is actually going to have a full wrap on it. I'm doing like a camouflage, so jungle style wrap on that, so that should look fun in the end. And then next to this, a very basic and glorious, look at that control panel. Isn't that just one of the most glorious things you've ever seen in your life? Masterful. Yes, this used to be, I believe, a Bud Light bowling cabinet. And at some point along the way, it got butchered, as many of these cabinets do. And somebody has thrown the classic 60-in-1 board in there. However, it is up and running, so I can at least push it into the lineup if anyone wants to play any of the games on there. My goal for this cabinet is to convert it into a bomb jack machine. Dedicated bomb jack. Not a game that was played a lot in the States. It didn't seem to do very well, but it did do very well in the UK and overseas. And again, that's just a game that I played growing up. I think it's got a lot of character and charm. So one day, hopefully, when we do a tour in the future, this will look a lot better than it does now. Just panning up and around the room, I tried to just put all kinds of little bits and pieces around the place. So when you're sitting in here, maybe you're not playing any games, you can just enjoy looking around and exploring and seeing what little bits and pieces we have here. Got my Tron Funko Pops with the Tron light cycle. I love that, it's so cute. Down here, got our Atari decanter set with glasses. And of course, a mountain of remotes. Well, that's about it, guys. That's the full tour of the arcade at this point. As you know, arcade collections are just ongoing. They're never finished. But that's the best part of the hobby too, is like you've always got something to do, something to play with and have fun. So thanks for stopping by. If you've made it this far into the video, I really appreciate you sticking around. I hope to be putting up a lot more arcade related content over the coming year this year. So if you want to do the usual, like, subscribe, and watch out for new content as I start to put it together and move this room forward into 2026.